I currently have two favorite utility tools in WordPress and will explore one of them in today's video. I'll be showing you 5 groups of features that I love in the Admin and Site Enhancements Pro. Admin and Site Enhancements currently has 67 features in total, 55 of which are free, with 28 having some extra features that are in the Pro version, and then we have 12 features that are solely in the Pro version. You can get the free version of Admin and Site Enhancements from the WordPress repository of plugins. Just search for Admin and Site Enhancement. You get the free version. If you want the Pro version, the link will be in the description, and it will take you to where you can purchase the Pro version. We have the annual and the lifetime versions. So once you have it installed, then you can now head over to your tools and then enhancements, and that's where you get all the settings for your admin and site enhancements. And the first feature we'll be looking at is the clean up admin bar. By default, when you are logged in on the front end, you have lots of options in the admin bar. So it starts with the WordPress logo, then you have your site name and the home icon, the customize, the comments, and so many other options. This now clogs up the space of your admin bar. But if you're like me and you don't like clutter, so you want just the minimum options in the admin bar, then you can use the admin and site enhancements to clean up the admin bar. Now let's take a look at the options we have. So all you do is head over to admin interface and check the option for clean up admin bar. Then it will give you some options, so just expand it and you get your list of options. Some of the options include remove the WordPress logo and menu. So once I do that, if I save it, you can see what happens now with the admin bar. It cleans up that logo, gets rid of it. All you have now is the name of your site and the home icon. You can also get rid of that if you want. That's the home icon and site name. And you can get rid of even options from third-party plugins if you want. So that's the first option that I like. And once I do that, if I come back to the front end and I refresh, you see, now it has been cleaned up a little bit and we only have the important options that I want to use. The second option that I like is the admin menu organizer, which helps me to clean up the admin sidebar. Now let's take a look. Still under the admin interface options, you can scroll down to the bottom and you see admin menu organizer. When you toggle that on, you can now go to the admin menu settings, and there you can do anything you like. So you can reorganize the options. So say you don't want the dashboard to be at the top, you can reorganize it to be after breaks. And if you want to hide some options, you can choose to hide them. And the hiding is in two ways. You can either hide until toggled, which I like to do, or you can hide it completely for different user roles. So when you choose that, it will tell you which user roles do you want to hide it for. Well, in this case, I just want to hide until toggled. What that does is when I save it and you refresh, you see now breaks comes before the dashboard. And when you scroll down to the bottom, you now see this show all option. So when I click on that, it can now show all of the options that I've hidden before. If I show less, it will hide the options that I've chosen to hide. So this is a good way to clean up the admin interface so that only the options that you need will be in the sidebar. The third feature that I like is in two parts. So we have the admin column manager as well as the enhanced list table. Now let's take a look. Still under the admin interface settings, if you scroll down to the bottom, you get to see the enhanced list tables as well as the admin columns manager. So let me choose the enhanced list tables. Then I will expand the options, and you can see these are the various options that you can do. So right now I've chosen that I want to hide the tags column. I want to remove the comments, and I also want to show the ID column. So previously, this is how the posts look like. You get to see your categories, you see tags, then you see comments. But now watch what happens when I activate it and I save. Then I go ahead to refresh the page, you can see now we no longer have that comments section and then the tags. All we have is the title, the author, categories, date, and the ID. I like activating the ID because sometimes when I'm working with something like dynamic shortcodes or some other plugins where I need to get the ID of a post to use in maybe a dynamic data or something like that, I can now simply come over here and copy the ID rather than having to edit the post, then go over to the top and then try to find the ID in the address bar and all of that. That is a long process. Now I can simply just copy the ID that I need and then use it. The second option is the admin columns manager. So still under the admin interface, I'll activate the admin columns manager and then I'll save that. And what that does is, let me now come under F1 drivers. And as you can see, I can now choose to show what I want. So in this case, I wanted to show the title only, the nationality, the points, and the ID. You can edit it by simply coming under the manage columns. And you can choose whatever you want to add. So you can add taxonomies, you can add custom fields, and you can choose which one you want to be the default sort. In this example, I've chosen I want the points to be the one for the default sort. So you go ahead and edit it. You can see all of the options here you have. So you can sort, you can choose the sort order. You can even rename the label. Instead of saying points, if you wanted to say something else, you can change the name here and you can change how the width should be. So now this is useful so that it can reflect how my table is on the front end. So this is the table I have on the front end. I can now easily see it as well on the back end. So when I go to the back end and I go back, I can see that it is ordered currently by points. So this is what I want. If I want to order it by title, I can choose the title to be the default order and so on. The next feature helps me get rid of extra third-party SMTP plugins. So now I can get email delivery without having to rely on an extra third-party plugin. Let's see how we can set it up. You simply head over to Utilities and then Email Delivery. When you activate that, you can now expand the options and it will ask you to add all of your options. So in this case, I've added the sender name, the sender email. I've chosen to force that name. Then I've set up all of the other SMTP options like the host, the port, and I've given the username, which is back to my email, and the password. Then you can also choose to enable the email delivery log. When I choose that, you can choose how many you want to save, and you can now save it. And you go back to the options and you send a test email to ensure that it is working properly. Once you've seen that everything is working, you can now get the email log, which you can search. So let's say I test it with info@daveden.co.uk, send email. And you see the test email was sent successfully. If I go to my phone, I can see that the email was sent successfully. If I refresh the page, I can now go to the logs, which is under Tools and Email Log. And you can see the status, if it was sent successfully, and so on. So this helps me to get rid of third-party SMTP plugins. The final feature is a group of features related to media. It has helped me to get rid of several media plugins, and now I can just rely on one plugin for all my needs. So let's take a look. So under content management, the features that I like are media categories, media replacement, SVG upload, and AVIF upload. Basically, the media categories help me to get rid of all of my media folder plugins, and it allows you to add categories to your media. Let's see what I mean. So if you go under my media, you can see now we have some categories in the media library. And one thing I like about admin and site enhancements is this is the first plugin that I've seen that is keyboard accessible. So watch what I mean. If I go to my search, I can now go to skip to main content. I'm only using my keyboard right now, no mouse. If I press the tab key, now I'm on the add new folder. If I press the tab key again, I go into my categories and I'm on the last category that I selected previously. And I can now use the arrow keys because this is how media files work. When you are in your media files, whether in your default OS media library, so when you go to your file manager from either your Mac or your PC, when you are navigating through the categories, use the up and down arrow keys and it works. If I want to close a subtree, I press the left arrow key. If I want to open it, I press the right arrow key. And if I want to access it, I press the enter key. And I get access to that media folder. And the nice thing about it is the media folders are accessible even on the backend. Other media library plugins like to create the categories, but they hide it from the user. In this case, it is shown to the user, which you can see under media categories. When I click on it, you can edit the media category, which means that you can easily call these categories on the front end using a query. So that's one thing I like about the admin and site enhancements version of media categories. The other thing I like is that you can now choose to upload SVGs and AVIF. So you can expand and see it gives you the options that says, okay, does it support? Does it not support? It tells you exactly what is going on. Because right now, AVIF, as of 2025, it has a good support, although it's not yet perfect. So I wouldn't still recommend you using AVIF alone. I would recommend you using things like WebP for now, which is coming to my next option, which you can find under optimization and image upload control. So if you activate that, expand it, you can now choose to convert all of your BMP, PNG, and JPG uploads to WebP instead of JPG, and you choose the WebP quality. You also choose the max width and the max height. Then the other thing is, if you don't want your medias to be overwritten, all you have to do is at the end of your media file, just add the suffix of -nr. When it sees that suffix, it will not convert that media on upload. This only works on upload. It will not convert any of your existing media so that it doesn't corrupt your media files. Then you can also choose to disable the version that you don't want. So if you don't want the creation of the 1536 or the 2048, you can disable them. You can choose to only leave the ones that you need. And that is basically it for the media library. The last option that I didn't show is the media replacement, which is still under the content management. And you see the media replacement. What this allows you to do is replace a file without having to delete and then re-upload. So if I come back to my media and go to the library, maybe choose the logo. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see your categories and you can see that we can replace media. So if I click on select new media file, it will allow us to upload a new media and to replace the old media with the new media. So yeah, those are some of the features that I like about the Admin and Site Enhancements Pro. If you have any feature that you like, let me know in the comments. I'll be looking at other features in future videos, but for now, these are the ones that I use mostly on most sites that I build. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.